From Thom Hartmann's Daily Take Substack. Is Donald Trump America's public enemy number one? The explosive case for why Donald Trump is the most dangerous criminal in U.S. history. Published July 22, 2025. The following is a song inspired by this article.
Look at the money trails, tax fraud, lies in the run. Trump University burned out, foundation beaten and undone. Mob money in the tower, Bezos whispers with Cohn. Casito's secrets, Trump and Epstein, shadows where the darkness shone. From hush money storm to a coup attempt, he weaponized the courts and democracy was bent. Is Donald Trump America's public enemy number one? He tore our justice down, made law a loaded gun. With every tweet and pardon, the rule of law undone. Is Donald Trump America's public enemy number one? He broke the oath for Putin, tariff-free. Ukraine betrayed. Pardon Manafort's crimes, bowed to oligarchic trade. Denied a deadly virus, left out blue and black. Let COVID tear through hearts while he put politics on track. Obstruction in the White House, emoluments in play. Classified, secrets stolen, still he fights to stay. He rallied mobs with lies, Jan 6 etched in stone, inciting hate and fear. He's not alone, we're not done. Is Donald Trump America's public enemy number one? He crashed democracy, the damage can't be spun. If we let him slide, who's next to come undone? Is Donald Trump America's public enemy number one? Never forget, never forgive. Democracy demands. Hold him to account. Reclaim our lands. The greatest threat to our nation's song. Trump's shadow looms, but we stand strong.
When historians look back on this era, they'll inevitably ask how a nation built on principles of democracy, justice, and equality allowed one man to commit such a broad range of crimes and abuses, and whether Donald Trump is indeed the most dangerous criminal in American history. To fully grasp the gravity of Trump's actions, consider the extensive categories of his criminal and potentially criminal conduct, each more disturbing than the last. First, there's the relentless financial corruption. Trump has long played fast and loose with the law when it came to his finances. In New York, his company was convicted of tax fraud and financial manipulation designed to deceive lenders and inflate his wealth. Trump University was shuttered after a $25 million fraud settlement. Its, quote, students, end quote, left feeling defrauded. His charitable organization, the Trump Foundation, was dissolved following revelations that funds intended for charity were instead used to benefit Trump personally and politically, and to pay off Pam Bondi in Florida, where he and Epstein were living. She was AG for almost a decade and never went after Epstein. But Trump's shady financial dealings didn't begin or end with these public scandals. For decades, he was closely associated with New York's organized crime families. Trump Tower itself was built using concrete provided by mob-linked companies. Roy Cohn, Trump's mentor and attorney, as I detail in The Last American President, A Broken Man, A Corrupt Party, and A World on the Brink, was a notorious fixer and lawyer for mob figures such as Anthony, quote, Fat Tony, end quote, Salerno, and Paul Castellano. Trump's casinos also regularly skirted the law, drawing scrutiny from federal investigators for potential money laundering linked to organized crime, and his former casino manager recently revealed to CNN that Trump and Jeffrey Epstein once showed up together with underage girls in tow. The White House denies this story. Trump's long relationship with Epstein further exposes his moral bankruptcy and possible criminality. The two were close associates and owned residences near each other in New York and Palm Beach, socializing together frequently. Trump famously described Epstein as a, quote, terrific guy, end quote, who enjoyed the company of beautiful women, some, quote, on the younger side, end quote. Multiple reports suggest Trump knew about Epstein's exploitation of minors, yet Trump continued their association until public scandal made it inconvenient. Then there are Trump's questionable international relationships, with none more alarming than his mysterious affinity for Vladimir Putin. Trump's first administration consistently favored Russian interests, dismissing election interference findings from American intelligence agencies, undermining NATO, and in his second administration even withholding military aid from Ukraine, thus benefiting Putin's geopolitical ambitions. While the full nature of Trump's entanglement with Putin remains hidden, Trump's obsequious behavior toward the Russian dictator raises serious questions about financial leverage or compromised loyalties. For example, the only major country in the world Trump chose not to impose tariffs on this year was Russia. Trump's disturbing Russian connections also include his 2016 campaign manager and close confidant, Paul Manafort, whose career was dedicated to installing pro-Putin autocrats and corrupt oligarchs across Eastern Europe, including Ukraine and Albania. Heidi Sigmund-Schuda writes about his recent Albania connection in her great Bet Dangerous Substack newsletter. Manafort was convicted of multiple felonies, including tax and bank fraud stemming from his shady dealings overseas, actions intimately connected with Putin's broader geopolitical ambitions, for which Trump pardoned him. Trump's choice of Manafort to lead his 2016 campaign wasn't coincidental. It signaled to Moscow an openness to influence, further raising troubling questions about Trump's susceptibility to foreign manipulation and complicity in Manafort's criminal schemes. Trump's election interference was equally alarming. It began with hush money payments to Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal to manipulate public perception during the 2016 campaign, for which he was convicted of felony election manipulation charges in Manhattan last year. More brazenly, Trump attempted to subvert democracy in Georgia when he lost the 2020 election by demanding that Georgia's Secretary of State, quote, I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, end quote. His attempts to cling to power by any means necessary reached a terrifying crescendo, with the conspiracy to overturn the 2020 presidential election ultimately joined by over 100 Republican members of Congress. This led to a federal indictment, making him the first former president charged with seeking to destroy the very democratic system that put him into power. Trump's abuse of presidential authority is chillingly unprecedented. Robert Mueller's investigation laid out multiple instances where Trump criminally obstructed justice, brazenly interfered with federal investigations. He solicited foreign interference from Ukraine in the 2020 election, a move that led to his first impeachment. Trump's presidency is also marred by repeated violations of the Emoluments Clause, as he profited directly from foreign governments funneling money through his hotels and golf clubs. He pitched Teslas from the White House in flagrant violation of the Hatch Act, penalty 5 years in prison. Even after leaving office in 2021, Trump illegally retained classified documents and obstructed federal efforts to retrieve them, leading to further federal charges. One of the most grotesque and morally bankrupt chapters in the Trump presidency unfolded in the early months of the COVID pandemic when Trump and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, reportedly made the political calculation that the virus was, quote, only hitting blue states, end quote, and disproportionately killing black Americans. So it could be weaponized. According to reporting at the time, Kushner convened a secretive White House task force of mostly male, white, preppy private sector advisors who concluded that a robust federal response to minimize deaths would be politically disadvantageous. Their analysis was clear, since it was primarily Democratic governors and black communities suffering the early brunt of the pandemic, New York, New Jersey, Washington. Trump could politically benefit by blaming local leadership and withholding meaningful federal aid. It was cynical and deadly, a strategy to let the virus burn through the opposition's voter base that ultimately led to an estimated 500,000 unnecessary American deaths and gave us as the second most COVID deaths per person in the world. This approach not only explains the administration's chaotic and insufficient response to testing, supplies, and coordination, it exposes a level of callous, morally, if not legally criminal, political calculus rarely seen in modern American history since the days of Trail of Tears. Lead documents and internal communications at the time confirmed that federal resources were distributed unevenly, often favoring Republican-led states. Trump also regularly lashed out at Democratic governors like Gretchen Whitmer and Andrew Cuomo while ignoring their pleas for ventilators and PPE. As the death toll mounted, Trump publicly minimized the virus, holding rallies and rejecting masks, while privately admitting to journalist Bob Woodward that COVID was, quote, deadly stuff, end quote. Beyond these abuses of power, Trump openly incited political violence. His rhetoric fueled vigilantism and violent confrontations at rallies. Most infamously, on January 6, 2021, he incited an insurrection designed to halt the peaceful transition of power in a stunning betrayal without precedent in American history. He encouraged extremists and white supremacist groups like the Proud Boys, Three Percenters, and Oath Keepers, effectively endorsing domestic terrorism. Right up until he took office and corruptly shut them down, investigations continued into potential wire fraud and misuse of funds from Trump's, quote, Save America, end quote, PAC, alongside scrutiny into financial irregularities involving his Truth Social platform. Investigations into obstruction, witness intimidation, and potential bribery, now blocked as the Supreme Court has put him above the law or shut down by his toadies, further compound his record of potential crimes. Yet, Trump's ultimate crime goes beyond mere lawbreaking. He has methodically eroded democratic institutions, weaponized disinformation to undermine public trust, and attacked the traditionally nonpartisan independence of the judiciary, intelligence agencies, military, and law enforcement. His assaults on the press are right out of Putin's playbook. Trump's relentless assault on truth and democracy normalizes authoritarianism and political violence. Thus, his most dangerous crime is not simply corruption or obstruction, nor even incitement of insurrection. It's the deliberate attempted destruction of American democracy itself. This crime, far more profound than any individual act, threatens the survival of the republic itself. If America is to survive as a free nation, we must confront the reality of Trump's actions. He isn't merely a criminal. He's become the most dangerous criminal in American history, precisely because his actions imperil the very foundations of our democracy. Allowing such crimes to go unpunished risks setting a precedent that future would-be autocrats may follow, forever tarnishing the promise of American democracy. Once he's out of power, our nation's new mantra must become, quote, never forget, never forgive, never again.